Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. This is the AtR podcast, Against the Ropes. I'm Gio Garcia. I'm alongside Christian Mosqueda, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We saw you guys yesterday, but we had to do it. We had to come back. Canelo Bivol preview. Let's get it started, Chris.
Yeah, man, we had to bring it back again. We had to give it justice and give Canelo Bivol their very own episode, and it's here, man. It's Cinco de Mayo weekend, May 7th, this Saturday at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and it's a Canelo show. And like we mentioned before, I think this is his toughest tested date since Triple G won. Uh, and yeah, man, it's the odds don't do Bivol justice, man. I think he's at a plus 700 underdog. Hey, this is his championship. Canelo's going for Bivol's title, and I mean, yeah, it's a little disrespectful, Gio. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, man, very interesting because I was just watching, right before we started the podcast, I was watching Dmitry Bivol against Joe Smith Jr. once again, and you know, Bivol very underrated in many aspects. I don't think the public is giving him much credit, like you said, especially the word you like to use, the casual boxing fan, the mainstream boxing fan. They're saying he's just another punching bag that Canelo's is going to knock out. But we'll be breaking it down throughout this show. We'll be talking about some of his strengths, some of his weaknesses, and I think it's just a very, very intriguing fight. Bivol has been champion for about 4 or 5 years. He's a very solid opponent for Canelo, and like you stated, this is probably his biggest challenge. And I think in hindsight that's easy to say because Canelo's been destroying most of his recent opponents. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started, man. Shout out to all you guys who are watching live. Feliz Cinco de Mayo if you celebrate that. Not I know not too many people, Mexican people, celebrate it, but hey, we all just need a reason to celebrate and have a good time. So um, we'll be enjoying our day and enjoying this podcast for sure. Chris, I don't know where you want to get started. You mentioned the odds a little bit. You mentioned the
Yeah,
odds.
yeah, it's a plus 700 underdog for Bivol. I think obviously I'm no bookie, I'm no bookmaker, but that's a little bit too off. A little too disrespectful to Bivol, who does have some advantages over Canelo.
What would be
Uh,
fair? What would be fair in your opinion?
I would say plus 400. You know, um, yeah, definitely 700 is like way off. That's just that plus 700 makes it seem it's not going to become competitive at all. So, plus 700 tells me this guy's only going to win one round top. I see people winning 3, 4 rounds, especially the early ones. Yeah, let's break down Bivol's keys to victory.
Yeah.
He does have a size advantage. He is the bigger man. I wouldn't say the stronger, um, based on concrete one punch power, but he is the bigger guy. He does have Canelo has a very good jab, but Bivol's jab is also very, very, very respectable. And you mentioned you just saw the fight with Joe Smith Jr. He was utilizing that jab to set up his other arsenal. But yeah, I'm gonna say that the strength, the size, the jab, and just he's gonna try to frustrate Canelo in those early rounds. So if he can stick to that jab, stick to his boxing, try to take it into the distance. I think you give Canelo a run for that decision. Again, it's a tall order. It's probably the toughest the toughest assignment is fighting Canelo. The toughest assignment is beating a Canelo, the consensus number one pound. But if Bivol can stick to those keys to victory, I think he can make it close.
Yeah, and I think Bivol is going to surprise a lot of people. I think Bivol is, like I mentioned, a very good fighter. He is surprisingly kind of quick on his feet. He looks like he's flat footed. He normally stands with those wide feet, that wide stance. But Joe Smith Jr. was able to catch him, as I stated yesterday. And Bivol, I think he took it fairly well. A bit fortunate that it was toward the end of the round. I'm not sure what I can't remember. I think it was 11th round against Joe Smith Jr. But he took that power fairly well against one of the bigger punchers at 175. You know, our guy Derek checking in, saying Bivol 8-4. Look at that. Hey, that's what I like to see, man. I like to see.
Hey,
I like to see a little bit of doubt in there when Canelo's facing an opponent, because lately, for me at least, it's been a wash. Caleb Plant, no chance. You know, Billy Joe Saunders, no chance. You know, at least those are my predictions going into the fight. You know, we saw how those turned out. So I'm glad that people are getting excited for this one, and I'm glad that some people will be picking Bivol. Some people will be betting for Bivol because it's a very good bet. It's a very good bet, man. But you know, let's just go right into, you know, who is Dmitry Bivol. Dmitry Bivol, 31 years old, same as Canelo. Born in the Soviet Union, now Kyrgyzstan. Father is from Moldova, mother of Korean descent. He made his pro debut in 2014. He's 19-0, 11 knockouts to his name. He's been a WBA light heavyweight champion since 2017. He hasn't registered, however, a KO since 2018 versus Sullivan Barrera. All his last 6 fights since then have been unanimous decisions. However, I think what you can say about that is that he has faced pretty decent competition in those 6 UDs that he won. Of course, the notable ones against John Pascal, and of course we mentioned Joe Smith Jr. But yeah, interesting fighter, Chris.
yeah.
Look, before we
No,
move on, do you think he has any chance? Let's just move everything, all the other topics out the way. Do you think he has a chance against Canelo?
I think he has a better chance than anybody else. I think he has a better chance than Caleb Plant. He has a better chance than did
Billy Joe Saunders,
Billy Joe. He's of all
Callum
those guys.
Smith.
If anybody has a good chance, I would give Bivol a good little margin.
Does he
I
have a
think-
better
I think-
chance than Golovkin if Golovkin faces Canelo again?
Oh yeah, definitely. He's
agree.
definitely the tougher test.
I
So
agree.
at this point, in 2022, he's a more dangerous fighter than Golovkin is in 2022. But yeah, I do give Bivol a chance. I think, you know, what you just mentioned, his background, him being from Eastern European, the mentality that he has, he's a very self-aware fighter. You know, I believe he's a guy that knows, you know what, Canelo's just a man just like me. And I think he's very aware that he doesn't have to necessarily knock out Canelo, because in my opinion, no one's gonna knock out Canelo. Like, don't even, you know. But I think he's self-aware that he's like, I could probably beat him. I could win 6-7 rounds if I play my cards right. And obviously, it's tough in Vegas. You know, that's something that his trainer brought up. But if you're a self-aware fighter like a Bivol, you just really have to win 6, 7, 8 rounds. You know, get some of those rounds early in the bag, and you know, have some good middle rounds, and then finish strong at the end. And hey, you can shock again. It's Canelo going after Bivol's titles, and yeah, there's gonna be some things that Bivol has to do. Obviously, protect that body. Obviously, don't succumb to the pressure that you know that Canelo's gonna bring. But I give him a good chance to upset, as
And
you say. You know,
maybe a hot take here, because I see our guy Derek. He says, "What about David though? David Benavides? I think he has a better chance of beating Canelo than David Benavides." We've heard some stories about those sparring matches. Perhaps Benavides getting the best of Bivol, but I think sparring is different than the actual fight. I think Bivol is a smarter fighter than David Benavides. I think he's more responsible defensively. I think he has more experience, and
yeah.
all those factors, I think, come into play against a guy like Canelo. I don't think David Benavides at the moment is ready for a Canelo, even though most people seem to think so. But look, it's the same thing that they've said about Callum Smith, you know, before Canelo made the move to 175. Callum Smith is too big. He will hurt Canelo. Canelo moves up, takes him out, wipes him out. Same thing they have been saying about Billy Joe Saunders since forever. We've had good friends who used to say, I think Billy Joe would be Canelo's biggest test, and he might even beat Canelo. Not a chance, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people are saying Caleb Plant. A lot of people are saying Triple G would have stopped Canelo, and we've seen how all those fights have turned out. So I think right now Benavidez has marketed himself really well, but I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's faced anybody like that. I think he still has a lot to learn. He still has many fights to take and improve on, and he doesn't even have a title at the moment. So look, I think if anybody is to beat Canelo right now, I think there's two guys, and their names, that, in my opinion, are Arthur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol.
Yeah. No, yeah, I completely agree. I know Canelo's, said somebody else's name 2, 3 divisions higher than that, 175, but we'll get to that on another time. But yeah, the two biggest threats in this division at 175 definitely has to be Bivol and Beterbiev. And some people say Beterbiev is a bigger threat because of that
The power.
just that power, that natural power. But I mean, Bivol does have some of that too. And the thing that Bivol has that Beterbiev doesn't is he's a little bit more mobile, a little bit more technically sound and younger, fresher. And that's something that I feel like people don't especially, I know we say the casuals don't take into account. They don't know how, that Bivol is a combination of a fresh fighter, but an experienced fighter. He's in his 30s. He's
Yeah.
fought some good names. I think he's coming in the right time.
He only
You
has
mentioned
19
Benavidez,
pro
I think.
fights. He only has 19 pro fights.
Yeah. At this stage, that's a good amount of fights, though. I know you mentioned Benavidez. Benavidez very skilled, very very fast for that division, but still, still very young. Still hasn't fought those bigger names in that division. So I feel like Bivol is coming into a right time. This is his
Benavidez,
moment.
let's not forget, I mentioned Bivol being more responsible defensively. Benavidez has been
Yeah,
dropped before. And Big
yeah,
Bro agrees. He says Benavidez ain't ready. He needs to fight Plant or Charlo. Probably gets stopped by a body shot. We haven't really seen Benavidez get hit like that. Like I stated before, he got dropped against a guy he probably shouldn't have got dropped against. But yeah, I agree. He needs to take those fights. I hope Plant gets in the ring with him. I think Benavidez beats him, but even then, a lot of people will, I'm sure, are taking Plant in that fight. So I think Benavidez still has some work to do, and I think Bivol has earned his stripes. Big win against Joe Smith Jr., big win against John Pascal. I'm not sure if he's ready for a guy like Canelo, but I think if anyone out there is, it's him and Beterbiev. And like you stated, Bivol is a little fresher. He's a little more mobile. So I think 50-50 between those guys. Everyone's saying, oh, Beterbiev is this monster. Of course, he has stopped all of his opponents, right? But um, I think it's 50-50 between who can beat Canelo, Beterbiev or Bivol. I think both guys have a good chance. However, I think the disadvantage that Beterbiev has is if he's to face Canelo, it's probably going to be next year or at the end of
yeah,
next year, and he isn't getting younger. He isn't getting any younger. So I've kind of seen him slowing down already a little bit. So I think that's what he has going against him. This is going to be a very good fight. This is going to be a very good fight. I know we're hyping it up, and if Canelo goes in there and stops Bivol, which I don't think will happen, but I would be very impressed. And of course, people will criticize Bivol and say, "Oh, he's like I say, he's just another punching bag." But no, this guy's the real deal. But Canelo right now is just in a different stratosphere. He's on a level of his own, and in my opinion, if he's able to stop Bivol, it's going to be up there, maybe top three most impressive wins for him.
yeah. I have a question, Gio. If Canelo does stop Bivol, do you think it's a body shot? Do you think it's obviously we know Canelo for being the a monster there working the body? Do you think it's a body shot? Do you think it's a headshot? What do you predict?
I think that's very hard to predict. I think that's very hard to predict. But I think his style kind of suits Canelo's body punching ability. Like I stated, he keeps that wide stance, legs very spread apart, high guard. So I think Canelo can sneak a lot of body punches in there. He's mobile, so I'm sure Canelo's going to invest in the body early on in the fight. So I think what logic states is probably a body shot. But I mean, Canelo's sneaky, man. This guy,
Yeah.
we saw how he finished off the other guy at 175, Kovalev, and that was a competitive fight. Uppercuts against uh, Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. So he just has so many weapons. I don't think it matters, and I don't pay too much attention to whether it's going to be a body shot or a head shot or an uppercut or this or that. I just think Canelo has so many weapons, and I think Bivol and his corner are just going to need to have the perfect strategy against the pound for pound king.
Yeah. Oh yes, it's something that people that support Canelo. I mean, he does have this aura of invincibility right now. But he does lose rounds. He does lose rounds. He's lost rounds early to Amir Khan, to Kovalev. Those are some things that Dmitry Bivol can capitalize. I've said this before. Dmitry Bivol to me is to me he's like a fresher. Obviously, he's a younger Kovalev type. Obviously, the Kovalev that Canelo fought was already on the way out, already broken. I mean, Bivol can gain confidence from seeing that fight with between Kovalev and Canelo, and he can back up those rounds, and he can say, you know what, I can back up. I'm sure he knows he's not going to win every single round, but again, if he can rack up enough rounds to make it close, you never know. You never know with these judges. So yeah, Bivol has a very good chance. Not obviously, again, it's against the top dog, the top fighter in the world right now. But I mean, I think he does have a very lively shot. Can you envision a Dmitry Bivol who doesn't have the biggest knockout ratio, but can you envision him rocking Canelo, Gio?
I think once you start getting into those higher divisions, anything can happen. All these guys punch hard, so that wouldn't be something crazy to me, especially because we haven't seen Canelo slip up since he was like 19 against Jose Miguel Cotto, right? We haven't seen him get rocked like that since he was a baby. So it happens. It's boxing. It's boxing. So anything can happen. Bivol, I think, doesn't have the best KO ratio, but he has sneaky power, and he was able to keep Joe Smith Jr. at bay with that jab, with the straight punches. He just fought a very smart fight. So I can see him winning many rounds against Canelo. I just think that Canelo changes fights with his power, with his defensive skill too. Let's see if Bivol can get to Canelo. Big Bro says at times he's going to have to stand toe to toe to derail Canelo from coming forward, and that's where I think Bivol can't fall asleep. He doesn't like wasting many punches, so he doesn't throw many. He throws many jabs, so I think at times he's just gonna have to throw that stick out there just to stop Canelo's momentum. And Big Bro also mentions that Steve Kim said something very interesting. Since Bivol got caught against Joe Smith, he's changed. He's become more cautious and hasn't gotten KO since, which is true. He hasn't his last 6 fights he hasn't registered a knockout. He's more of a responsible fighter, but we'll see. There's levels to this, and like I stated before, Canelo's on a level of his own. There's nobody even near him, and let's see how Bivol does. I think he's going to do a very good job, and I do agree that the odds should be much closer.
Yeah. Obviously, we talked about where do we rank Bivol in terms of Canelo's toughest opponents. I don't know if you saw a video, Gio, where Canelo actually names his top 5 toughest fights. Did you see that video? And if not, do you want me to read it out to you?
I saw the video.
Okay.
So I saw the video, and obviously, like you said, they asked Canelo his top 5 toughest fights, and from 5 to 1, he named Austin Trout, Erislandy Lara at number 4, Miguel Cotto at number 3, Triple G at number 2, and of course Floyd Mayweather Jr. at number 1. I completely agree. I think I would just switch maybe Lara and Cotto. I think Lara was kind of a tougher fight for him because of his style. He he moved around the ring a lot. Not to use the
Yeah.
R word in boxing, right? Let's just say he was very mobile. He moved around, didn't throw
Yeah.
many punches, and frustrated Canelo a little bit. But yeah, I would have to agree with that list, and it's a great list. I think all these guys have a good chance of being Hall of Famers, maybe except Trout.
Yeah. No, that was yeah. When I saw that, I was very surprised too. I was a little surprised that he had Cotto at number three. I think he showed a lot of respect to a Hall of Famer, but
Yeah, he could have got
I
him
thought
out
he
of there.
handled Cotto. I thought he handled Cotto fairly well. But this list does tell me something. He talk about his toughest opponents. He's talking about fights that happened 3, 4, 5 years, 6, 7 years ago. So it just shows you like that he's in a different stratosphere when it comes to where he's at now, where he's just crushing his opponents now. Even though they're bigger, his skill set is at a different set. He did mention Mayweather. After this list, I went back and I saw the highlights of that fight, and of course he did get beat by Floyd, and then it was a masterful boxing display by Floyd. But that's something that again Bivol can, obviously he's no Floyd, but he can use some of that boxing technique to offset a Canelo Alvarez. But yeah, what do you think Bivol will rank? Will he crack this top five?
Hmm. These were, I think, tough fights for Canelo for different reasons. Against Trout, I think Canelo was still maybe a little bit green. He still hadn't proven himself in the eyes of many. And Austin Trout was undefeated. Let's
Yeah,
not forget he had just beaten Miguel Cotto. So I think
yeah,
that was a tough one. And it was a close fight. Canelo needed the knockdown for him to get that victory.
yeah.
Lara, of course, tough fight. Cotto, I don't know. Maybe Bivol can sneak in there, maybe at number 5, and we move Cotto out that list. But of course, Triple G and Mayweather top 2 for sure. I don't know if you would agree with that. I don't know if you're as high on Bivol as me. For the
Uh,
past
I, I
for the past 2 weeks, I've been having nothing but praise for Bivol.
yeah. I'm not as high as you, but I do respect Bivol a lot. Just watching his tape, seeing his when he does his interviews, his mindset. He's just very self-aware, and a self-aware person can be very dangerous. There's no alter ego. There's no bronze bomber. There's no cockiness. It's just confidence. It's confidence, and
It's all
again,
business.
self-aware, self-aware in their own abilities. So that can make for a very dangerous fighter. So I do believe he can make it very tough where he cracks in. Yeah, I agree to the top five. Maybe not, you know, the top three, but maybe the top five. And again, he's gonna have to take Canelo into deep waters, and I think he can. He can earn his respect early. He can, obviously he's gonna have that stiff jab right there in front of Canelo's face, but he's gonna have to unload some combinations to earn Canelo's respect. That's something that some of those fighters have been able to do, or at least keep that consistency. Where they get Canelo's respect early, but then they're not able to keep it once they get touched by Canelo. So yeah, he's gonna have to again make it a tough assignment by earning Canelo's respect with his own strength and power. And I think he could crack the top five.
Are you worried about Canelo at all going into this fight?
Yeah, no. Again, it's that aura about Canelo that it makes it seem like even though he loses a couple rounds, he can he's got so many tricks, he's got so many weapons at his disposal. His winning mentality is in a different level that it's hard to bet against Canelo, if I could say that. No, it's very tough for anybody to bet against Canelo at this point in his career. He has all the experience, and he still has that still that fresh youth at 31 years of age. So it's hard to bet against Canelo. But if you're gonna those odds, man, if you're gonna put it on somebody, I don't think, yeah, it would be a smart bet. I would say to put some money on people plus 700. Yeah, I can lose $10.
Cotton was easy money. Canelo given too much respect, says Big Bro.
Yeah,
He also states Faitelson finally giving Canelo his props a little, saying he should get props for going up and down while staying strong and winning. Look at that. Canelo turning haters into fans, one at a time. Just like
Canelo
Chris.
said,
Chris used to be one of those. Now he's on the Canelo side, right, Chris?
"Yeah, since we're talking about his tough fights, yeah, I think he turned me around the Trout Lara, but Goto definitely. I was like, oh no, man, he carried Goto. In my opinion, he carried Goto in
Carry.
that fight a little too much. I think he could have knocked Goto out, but he was showing a lot of respect to the Asian Puerto Rican star. But yeah, the fight that definitely solidified, you know, and convinced me was that second Triple G fight. Without a doubt, made it clear that there's only one Canelo and that this is his era. And then everything he's done now, man, it's just cherry on top. So man, the how farther can Canelo go, Gio, if he's able to get past Bivol, as many expect.
I think Betabriev is probably the next target. Of course, they kind of had that agreement with Triple G3, but I think if he's able to be Betabriev, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to become the greatest Mexican champion of all time. If he's not it already, I already think he's the greatest Mexican boxer that has existed. Of course, in the hearts of everyone, everyone's going to say Chavez, but if you look at the quality of opponents, I mean, Canelo, there aren't too many resumes that you can compare to Canelo's. For in our
Yeah,
lifetime, since we've began watching boxing since we were kids, I think only Manny Pacquiao can compare. You know,
yeah,
Oscar de la Hoya, who's faced everyone but took some losses as well. But there aren't too many guys who have the resume that Canelo has. All the undefeated champions that he's defeated, going up and down in weight classes, undisputed. I mean, how can you dispute that? You know,
yeah,
but uh, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there is more to say. And it just kind of sucks because if Canelo wins this fight, which I think is a tough fight, people are going to see it as something normal. It's a norm. It's Canelo. He always wins,
yeah,
right? But this is not normal. This guy's from another
yeah,
planet. And I think we're very privileged to see something like this. When
yeah,
Pacquiao had his run, it was great to see. He was moving up in weight classes and destroying guys. And Canelo's doing the same, maybe different style wise. He's doing it a
yeah.
little different, but still great to see. So um, I'm happy Canelo right now is at the top of the game. I think he's representing boxing well. I think there's an MMA fight this weekend too, but
Mhm.
that's not going to exist because all eyes will be on Canelo, no matter if you like boxing or MMA or basketball or baseball. Canelo will be the headliner on ESPN Sports Center too. So I'm excited for this one, man. I'm excited for this one, and I don't mind paying the zone extra money.
Yeah. All right, Joe. With that, do you have a prediction for this fight? Do you have an official, a locked in, sealed and delivered final prediction?
All right. I'll just leave it as this. Bivol 19-0, 11 KOs. Canelo, they're the same age, by the way. Bivol, like I
Mm.
stated, he made his pro debut in 2014. Canelo made his debut in 2005, 15 years old.
Damn.
He now has 60 fights, 57, one loss, two draws, 39 KOs. He has more knockouts than most guys have wins. In his last five fights, he's faced Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Avni Yildirim, Caleb Smith, Sergey Kovalev. Four out of those guys he stopped. Um, Bivol in his last five fights, Umar Salamanov, Craig Richards, Lenin Castillo, Joe Smith Jr., and John Pascal, all unanimous decisions. With that being said, I think I'm taking Canelo by unanimous decision. However,
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked at a knockout. No disrespect to Bivol at all. I just think that Canelo is one of the best finishers in the game right now. He has that killer instinct. I can't remember one guy who was hurt by Canelo and survived.
Yeah.
I mean, name a guy who's Canelo has rocked and they went all 12 rounds. Callum Smith took a beating for 12 rounds, but he was never, you know, doing the stanky leg out there. Anytime those legs wobble a little bit, it's a wrap. And if
Yeah.
Canelo can catch you, nine times out of ten, he will catch you. Let's see how Bivol takes it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a knockout. But my official prediction is this guy, Saul Canelo Alvarez, unanimous decision.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like what Big Bro said. He and you guys stated that Bivol doesn't take as he's more methodical when it comes to his approach to winning. Not a lot of chances he gives to get hurt. Um, so I can see how I could go the distance, and that was leaning towards that, up until this week. But like you just mentioned, Canelo's one of the best finishers in the game. I obviously Errol Spence is up there. I want to say Terrence Bud Crawford is up there, and there's a few more. But yeah, I think I just based
Don't
on
you
like
ever
his previous
mention
performance,
don't you ever mention those two guys alongside Canelo, man. Stop it. Stop the disrespect
based
here.
on based on Canelo's previous opponents, he's just been beating, breaking down guys, Billy Joe, Killer Plant, and obviously the overmatch Yildirim. So I'm gonna say that Canelo keeps it going, man. It's May 5th weekend. I think it's gonna be a ruckus crowd that's gonna just he's gonna want to deliver that knock, and I think he's gonna hurt Bivol in the late rounds. And look, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say he's gonna get a stoppage. So I'm gonna say Canelo by 11th round TKO, and I'm gonna say that Bivol is gonna
11th.
give a really really good competitive matchup until that moment.
He stopped Kovalev in the 11th. It took him a
Yeah,
while, but once he hurt him, that was it. Let's
yeah,
see how Bivol can take the power, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited to see, uh, the whole main event, the whole show. Canelo's been putting on a show with the help of Mr. Eddie Hearn. Shout out
yeah,
to the mic. Um, and one thing about Eddie Hearn, man, he legit admires Canelo. When Canelo
yeah,
walks into the room, he always greets him and gives him a hug and has the biggest smile on his face. So I think this is a
yeah.
good partnership. It's worked well for both guys, I think. Um, and I can't wait to see that whole show. And of course the fight itself. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting
And again,
predictions. I'm going 12. Chris is going KO 11th.
yeah. And I think there's a mutual respect I feel, Gio, that we feel towards Bivol. Obviously he's not a big trash talker, or he's not a trash talker, period. There's a lot of respect shown between him and Canelo. They're both kind of serious, quiet, go about my business type guys. Not they don't need to hype anything really or like disrespect. So it's I must see this fight, and I'm gonna be watching it tensely, waiting for Canelo to rock, but I'm still gonna be kind of like hoping Bivol does gives a good performance. So it's gonna be a good fight for us fans to just really be, tuned in every round, every minute of this fight is gonna be
Yeah.
nice.
And look, Beebles, one of his weaknesses, he does not go to the body. But if I'm
Yeah,
Bivol, I'm throwing nothing but jabs and straights this whole fight. I'm throwing 500 jabs.
yeah,
He has to keep Canelo away from him. He can't take too many risks. He doesn't um, he doesn't either way. But I do agree that he will have to switch things up. He will have to try to rough up Canelo, maybe go toe to toe for 10 to 20 seconds at a time, nothing longer than that. He's gonna have to stay responsible and have the perfect game plan. But like anything can happen. This guy is 6'1", a big guy, natural 175 pounder. Canelo is 5'8", not a natural 175 pounder. If he was smaller, um, muscle wise, he would easily fight at 154. So a guy with his body type, you don't see guys like that going all the way up to 75. So he's always going to have that disadvantage. Let's see how he takes Bivol's power as well, and then Bivol can mix that power with skill, technique, and a very good game plan. He has a good chance. But yeah, very tough to bet against Canelo at this point. It doesn't matter if it's Bivol, Triple G, Benavides. I'm not taking any of those guys over Canelo. And yeah, the Zone pay per view. That's one thing we must talk about, Chris. The Zone pay per view. Um, let's see. If you are subscribed, I wrote it down. If you are subscribed, um, $59.99 is the price tag. If you have the DAZN subscription already. If you are not subscribed, $79.99, and that includes also a whole month of DAZN. So I think the response has been pretty positive. I posted some polls on Instagram, on YouTube, and most people are saying that they don't mind paying. So interesting. I thought there was going to be more of an uproar. Doesn't seem like it. People seems like they're willing to pay for a Canelo fight, and let's see if DAZN does report the numbers, and let's see how it does really, because
Yeah.
this is a big fight, the biggest name in boxing, fighting once again at his home of the T-Mobile Arena there in Vegas. So I think the whole response has been a positive one by boxing fans.
Yeah, no, I know that a year and a half ago, 2 years, it was promised once you got the zone, you automatically got Canelo, and I think that's why we expect people to be more upset. But again, they're not too upset. Again, it's really just because it is Canelo. It really is the face of boxing, and if they make it a triple, quadruple, pay-per-view firewall that you got to go through, you're gonna pay it. Um, yeah, I think who was it that had like you subscribe and then you do a pay-per-view? I think it was ESPN Plus, right?
Yeah, ESPN Plus.
I think then that one really bothered people because again, it wasn't Canelo. It wasn't somebody that you got excited for, on a grand scale, on a national, cancel everything to see this guy fight because it's guaranteed entertainment, and so we kind of thought because they did that people would be upset at the zone, subscription on top of the subscription. But again, the casual observer, they might just shell off this one-time pay-per-view and then they're good for the year or until Canelo fights again in September or whatever. So yeah, not too upset, as many people are, because again, it is an event. It is Canelo. We would probably just do this just for him, or I know Eddie Hearn said an Anthony Joshua type. So yeah, for the most part, not too upset. Not as upset as I was in the beginning. It is Canelo, so the pound for pound king does get his own special privileges.
Yeah, Chris, I know you did want to mention something yesterday about
Yeah.
Bivol and the comments made by the Klitschko brothers, right?
Yes. So yes, the obviously we're aware of the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia, and obviously the Klitschkos, who are Ukrainian, are in the middle of all that. And they did go on record saying that Bivol should have been either sanctioned or suspended and not giving this fight with Canelo. Bivol being Russian, of course. Yeah, as much as I support, Ukraine, everything that's going on there, and obviously big respect to the Klitschkos. I think they were great ambassadors, and they were, they're just, they're defending their motherland. Yeah, as much as I want to understand them, I see this as what fault does Bivol have, with what his country does. It's like, imagine USA does something or Mexico does something, and then, oh, you guys can have your podcast. The fuck do we have to do with all that? It's a little unfortunate. I understand what they're coming from, but I disagree with them. I think Bivol is an entire different, person to what his home country is doing, and I think that, that was some unfortunate comments, and I don't agree with that in this particular case.
And we mentioned, Bivol, he comes from immigrant parents, and
Yeah.
back then that country wasn't even Russia. So I don't think any criticism from the Klitschko brothers would apply to a guy like Bivol, at least in my opinion. But yeah, I think Bivol says something about, he's a politician now. So of course, he's talking about things more from the political point of view. And he's saying I'm an athlete and all these things. But hey, I think people have kind of not forgotten, but it seems like that conflict isn't now the main topic of the news. So um, I don't know. I'm not sure where I stand on that, but I'm no politician and I know nothing about that. So I'll stick to boxing. I'll stick to boxing. I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that topic.
Yeah, no. For me, let Bivol get his payday. I mean, obviously, this man has fought his way, you know, becoming a champion, a title holder, and he's right there alongside, you know, alongside Canelo to make this a great fight. And again, outside of Better Beef and many others, there's not a whole lot of fighters that can, you know, give Canelo a run for their money. So for now, I'd say give the, you know, we'll leave the politics out. Bivol does deserve this fight. I believe it's going to be a very competitive fight. I've already dropped my prediction, Canelo by knockout, but
Hey,
I think Bivol will give a good account of himself. And for people that haven't seen him fight or haven't seen him fight live, some of us have only seen him on, you know, YouTube watching fights. Again, I think it's going to be a treat, and will be treated to, you know, a great talent. And I think even in defeat, he will get better. He will. This 175 division is just one of the very hot divisions in boxing right now.
yeah, and look, the poll up on your screen right now is can Canelo stop Bivol? You know, go ahead and vote before we get out of here. We're going to get out of here shortly. We're going to keep this one relatively short. You know, as we look forward to May 7th, Saturday, the Zone pay-per-view, Saul Canelo Alvarez against the Russian champion Dmitry Bivol. Yeah, I don't have much to add. I did want to say one thing before we do get out of here, though. Shout out to Beefy, Liam Smith, my man, Liverpool all the way. Stop Jesse Vargas. I know you texted me about that, Chris. I didn't get a chance to watch that fight, but now I'm going to watch it. You know, Beefy, Liam Smith, stopping Jesse Vargas. Oh, man, so satisfying. Shout out to him. Shout out to all of Liverpool.
Yeah. Oh, he's a Liverpool fan?
He's from Liverpool, so I'm assuming he is. If
Awesome.
he's an Everton fan, I feel bad for him.
Yeah. No, I saw that fight, and yeah, Liam Smith, who lost to Saul Alvarez to Canelo years ago. Years ago. Didn't even crack Canelo's top 15 toughest fights. Just looked like a freaking stud out there, you know, just working Jesse Vargas and breaking him down. And now, congrats, man. Again, it's hey, you're one fight away from invigorating your career. So we'll see what's next for him. But yeah, man, your favorite fighter, Jesse Vargas, went down. So sad.
Yeah, and on that note, I think it's a good time to get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, don't miss it. Canelo. Saul Alvarez against Dmitry Bivol. Canelo going for his, second strap? Second strap at 175. Smith Jr. and Better BF have the other two. They're going to face each other. And it's all looking like, you know, the winner of both of these fights will be fighting each other. So a lot of good things to look forward to in boxing. And, of course, the face of boxing, Canelo, fighting this weekend. So another great weekend for boxing. That's all I can say, man. Still sticking with Canelo decision. But shout out to Jesus, who also checked in. He says Canelo by KO on the 12th, but all rounds will be close rounds, close fight. I think that's the sentiment, you know, along boxing fans. It's going to be a close fight until, you know, Canelo hurts him. And like we said, he's one of the best finishers in the game. So if he has you hurt, he's going to put you away. Shout out to all you guys tuned in. YNWA says a viewer here on our chat. Shout out to all the Liverpool fans. And yeah, man, let's get out of here. Salud. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Chris, you got anything else to add?
Me? Payday, payday.
Payday.
Y'all want payday.
Hey, that's us every other Friday, huh? Payday. Payday.
Vámonos.
That's it?
That's it.
It's a wrap.
Vámonos.
All right. Take care. We'll be back soon next week. Don't miss it. We're going to have the recap. Let me end this poll. Let's see. I know it was a quick one. Let's see what y'all voted. End poll. What do we have? Was it 50-50? I think it was 50-50. Will Canelo stop? Bivol, yeah, 50-50. Got a few votes there, but yeah. Hey, man, we'll see. We'll see. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you guys enjoy the fight. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll be back soon. Peace.
Let's
go, mates.
Let's go, mates.
Shout out to Eddie Hearns.
Michael, you already know I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Jorge AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas, que se le muchas ganas, un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview, and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time on y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.